Since the 1950s, integrated circuits have had a tremendous impact on the electronics industry. The aerospace field is a very dramatic example. To work with any kind of electronic equipment, you need to know how ICs are made and how they operate. An integrated circuit, or IC, is a complete electronic, solid-state circuit constructed as an inseparable group of components in a single structure. ICs are composed of interconnected diodes, transistors, resistors, and capacitors. While some ICs contain 50 or so components, others contain tens of thousands. Before the integrated circuit was developed, electronic circuits were constructed as individual, discrete components which were wired together or soldered onto circuit boards. For example, the early electron tube circuits were quite large and expensive to manufacture and operate. This 1940s computer called ENIAC filled a very large room. Various techniques were used to gradually reduce the size of the discrete component circuits, like the invention of transistorized circuits. Although transistorized circuits were smaller and more efficient than comparable electron tube circuitry, it was the integrated circuit which made it possible to construct extremely small and highly efficient electronic circuits and to process signals significantly faster. The small size of the IC is its most obvious advantage. The IC also has the advantage of low power consumption, which results in less heat radiation. Finally, ICs are more reliable. In general, any equipment which utilizes integrated circuits will be relatively small and reliable, as well as less costly to manufacture, maintain, and operate. Unfortunately, integrated circuits also have a few limitations. Since ICs are extremely small devices, they ordinarily cannot handle large current or high voltage levels. Of the four types of basic components found in most circuits, diodes and transistors are the easiest to construct in IC form. Resistors and capacitors are more difficult to construct in IC form because their physical size increases with their electrical values. Except in rare instances, inductors or coils are also not very practical to fabricate in an integrated form. Integrated circuits cannot be repaired because their internal components cannot be separated from the semiconductor material in which they are formed, or from the materials encasing them in packages. However, this repair limitation may also be viewed as an advantage. The task of locating a problem makes it necessary to trace that problem only to a specific circuit, rather than to an individual component. The entire circuit is then replaced and discarded, usually at minimal cost. To summarize the introduction, the limitation of ICs are greatly outweighed by their advantages. ICs are making it possible to reduce the size, weight, and cost of electronic equipment and at the same time to increase the equipment's reliability.